Everyone. Yeah, I can see some of our students' name here. Yeah, hi everyone. And yeah, so glad that a lot of you are able to join us, even though it's a short notice. It's hot from the hour. NVIDIA earnings was just announced this morning, 5 a.m. our time, right? Which is a US market close 5 p.m. And after that, there was a conference call at the 6 a.m. our time, which is 6 p.m. Yeah, US, the 5 p.m. US time. So today I'm going to dissect this. You know, there's not a lot of time to go through all the detailed analysis within the afternoon, but I'll do my best to share with you the insights that and also the fastest way for you to dissect the earnings, right? Especially when you are busy with your work, and you come back home and you have very little time to prepare. I also like to share with you one of the good features in the Moomoo platform itself, where you can get a very quick summary, right? Rather than going through the earnings report or the text-based earnings summary. Okay, so I will divide my sharing into two parts in a short while. But first of all, I'd like to highlight an important notice here to have highlight that this is not a session, right, for you to give you a tips on what to buy and what to sell. Right? We are not investment advisor. We are educator. So our role here is to educate you on the process, right? And you need to make the decision yourself. You're not ready to make the decision yourself. Like, please don't go and buy or sell NVIDIA tonight. Yeah, you need to equip yourself with the right knowledge to make the decision making. All right. So the other part is Beyond Insight as well as Moomoo, right, holds no liability for any risk as a result of taking action from this event, right? So the important aspect for everyone to know that is the market is dynamic. No one can know precisely the market direction. What we do as an investor and trader is we do our best to assess the information we have and make an assessment, the judgment, and we take a position. But we are prepared to be wrong, and we limit our risk when we are wrong. Okay, so if you are totally new, you may not be understanding this. Okay, so hope everyone understand. So the first part, I'll be sharing with you the NVIDIA earnings summary update. Then I will share with you how to find this information quickly in Moomoo platform. And after that, I will dissect the stock price action, right? So not just NVIDIA price action, but also the related stocks in the semiconductor as well as the AI industry. Right? So you can see the dependency. NVIDIA is a leading stock, and it can have a chain reaction to other supply chain, which I will show you in a short while. So let's start with the earnings summary first. And after I share these two parts, which is the summary of the earnings update as well as the price action, then we'll open up to more Q&A. But in between, as I'm presenting, if you have a question, right, do post on the chat, right, whichever forum you're logging in. So we have YouTube Live here, and we also have the Moomoo Live platform. We have our team members here, three of them. So thanks for supporting. So we have Yongxin, Lex, as well as Li Chai supporting on the back end to monitor those questions. We may not be able to, because there's a lot of you, we may not be able to answer all the questions, so they will help me pick up the important ones for me to address. Okay, so the good news is, okay, so I want to have some interaction here. Do type on the chat. Anyone have actually reviewed the NVIDIA summary? So is the report good, bad, or neutral? Just type on the chat. Good, bad, or neutral? Okay, neutral. Okay, some of you say it's neutral. Some say it's good. Like, so the interesting thing I learned about my 31 years of trading is the market can show you same information, but everyone can have a different opinion depending on your trading strategies and depending on whether you already have a position yesterday, right, or you are waiting to enter a position. Your emotions will be very different. Okay, so now let me share with you the outcome. Right? Before I share the outcome, I'd like you to share with me how many of you have an existing NVIDIA positions. Right? Type of me if you have an existing NVIDIA position, right? And you can type whether it's an investment or it's a trade, short-term trading. Okay. All right. So quite a number of you. Okay. So who has not don't have any positions but are waiting to get in, right? Then you type waiting, waiting to get in. Okay. Some of you are using options. Okay. Some of you are investors, some of you are trend trader. Very good, quite a mix. And some of you are waiting to trade for it intraday. Yeah, quite a number of you are waiting. Okay, so now let me give you a summary of what I've digested. Yeah, although it's a very short time for me to digest all the earnings update given my meeting schedule today. The good news is NVIDIA actually exceeded, right? In the earnings announcement, there are three important things for you to look at. You may want to write this down, right? The first one is whether they meet or beat at the expectations of whatever they forecast from the previous month. And what do you think is the most important thing to assess straight away, right? Right after market close, right? Yesterday market close, some companies, they announce earnings after market close, some is before market open, right? So NVIDIA is consistently after market close. Then they will publish, not exactly right at the 5 p.m. US time, but they are not 4 p.m. US time is when the market closed, our 5 a.m. Right after that, couple of minutes later, they will publish the result and it will just say whether they meet or beat, right? So in this case, the good news is NVIDIA beat both revenue and EPS, right? This is very important. Revenue tells you that there's still demand for the product. People want to buy your product. EPS shows that you are making money. And sometimes they beat revenue, but miss EPS, or they beat EPS, but miss revenue. Which one do you think is the most important? Yeah, type on the chat. More important to beat the revenue? I'd say you can only beat one. Which one actually is better? Yeah, revenue is more important because EPS can be manipulated. Like if the company chooses. I'm not saying that NVIDIA manipulate any. What I meant is revenue, you cannot hide so much because it shows that people are buying your product. But sometimes company has a lesser revenue, they can cut costs, right? Just to shows the better net profit. But cutting costs may not be sustainable long term. So the good news here is NVIDIA beat both revenue and EPS expectation, right? So this one part. But the second part is also very important, the outlook, what they forecast for the next quarter and next year. So not all companies will project next year, right? Some of them will just share their forecast for next quarter. I remember it is not compulsory to do a forecast, right? Based on the SEC regulation. Prior to pandemic days, most company will do a forecast, but during the pandemic, there was too much uncertainty. Some companies actually do not do forecasts during that period. But now I think most companies started to give the next quarter. But I can see a pattern difference now compared to pre-pandemic days that lesser companies are giving longer than the next quarter forecast, right? Compared to last time where they can give you next year, and Starbucks used to even give the next 3 to 5 years. Yeah. So what we can do right now is just look at the whatever information we get. At least we got next quarter. So the good news is NVIDIA exceeded the Q3 expectation. It was a strong growth in data center. Why we highlight data center, right? Everyone is looking at NVIDIA earning to see how is the AI industry, right? A lot of people are asking me, oh, is AI a bubble? So if NVIDIA did not meet earnings expectation, and more importantly, if the revenue drop, it can have a negative chain reaction to the AI related stocks, right? Because the valuation for NVIDIA is also elevated already. Okay, later I will show you why I consider elevated. It's not way overpriced, but it's not cheap as well. So if any missed expectation, then the stock price can have a bigger correction. So fortunately, that's not the case. So it shows that there's still strong demand for AI here. And more importantly, the outlook, right? Stock market react to the future forecast, right? And if you're a student, I tell this repeatedly, the stock market is 6 to 9 months ahead of the economy, right? So you don't look at the current economy to buy stock. They're looking at, is things going to get better? And that's the reason why when you look at earnings announcement, the outlook is actually sometimes more important than whether they meet or beat this quarter. Ideally, they beat everything. So the good news is NVIDIA beat in all aspects. Their forecast from last quarter about this quarter is beaten, and the outlook is good. However, for companies like this, you need to be very careful. Companies that used to beat expectations a lot, the expectation become higher and higher for them to beat a lot more. So if they used to be beating a lot and the stock gap up, then people expect them to gap up every time. So if they don't forecast a strong, much stronger, not just slightly stronger, much stronger expectation, the stock price can also be penalized. Yeah, so this is something that you need to be careful of. So the Q4 fiscal 2025 outlook is strong, and the expected revenue is 37.5. So just looking at the forecast, you may not know whether it's good or bad. So typically we need to look at the analyst commentary to show whether it is better than what the analysts expected. So everything is about expectation here. So a lot of times you will see a discrepancy, right? The company may come in and present the CEO or CFO, and they say how great is the result. It could be you could say this is the highest quarter they ever had, but the stock can still come down if the analysts already project higher than that. Okay, so that's the most important part. So other than the revenue and EPS, the next one is also margin, right? So depend on the type of the company. So NVIDIA is on the hardware side. So people look at the gross margin, right? So if it's like Visa and Master, they don't have much raw material, okay, other than the plastic card. So for that, the operating margin is more important, right? So NVIDIA will look at the raw material is crucial, especially when we have the tariff coming up soon, right? And Trump said he want to impose more tariff on China and also other countries. China is about 60%. So the gross margin is very sensitive to all this tariff as well, right? So because it increased the raw material cost. So later I will talk more about the risk that we need to manage. So currently, the analysts anticipate a healthy gross margin, and the good thing is the company able to maintain that, and also the operating expenses, yeah, both gross margin and operating margin. So beyond the financials, there's a few important highlights. So since NVIDIA is the reference for the AI industry, on top of AI is also in general cloud computing. So there will be certain product line that is more important. For example, if you look at Apple earnings report, right, what is more important? Right, iPhone, because iPhone is 50% of Apple revenue, right? So you need to see how significant is that. On top of that, because this can be referenced as for other companies that are also into cloud computing and also into AI. Yeah. So the first one is a data center. So the good news here is they have a record revenue. What's record revenue means? All-time high, right? That means it's the highest they ever had by the Hopper H200. Like this is one of the important product. And the partnership with major cloud provider and telco company, right? Doing very well here. And they are building AI supercomputers globally and contributed to open source initiative, right? Then the next one, which is cautious, because from AMD earnings announcement previously, the gaming and client computing wasn't doing well. And that's why AMD stock did not perform well in the last earnings report, because gaming was slow for them. And also the client, which is PC, because not enough people are upgrading the PC as expected, right? Because during the pandemic time, we have a peak buying on PC, right, and laptops at the time, due to a lot of people need to work from home. So by right now, we are in the fourth year, right, end of the fourth year, we should be seeing more renewal. But because of the consumer spending slowdown due to the high inflation earlier, the demand is not as high yet. But next year is where we see the demand kick in, right? Probably the later second half of next year, because by the time fifth year, your laptop will be, a bit old, right? Then people may upgrade, and by that time you will have more drive to upgrade because of the more AI enabled PC, right? So when people don't want to simply upgrade unless they really cannot stand the too slow a speed to run the new application. But if you time them, there's a lot more new feature, like the new laptops come with better capability and better features for AI, then people may upgrade. So for AMD report, this was a bit slow. So I was also concerned on this particular section for NVIDIA. And the good news is for gaming and AI PC, NVIDIA was performing better, right? There was a solid growth fueled by the GeForce RTX and DLSS titles, right? So this is related to their gaming division, and also the AI PC shipment and advancement in gaming technology. So it's great to see that even one that has a cautions for slowness is also doing well here. So NVIDIA have a two big win. Yeah. On top of that, there's a professional visualization. This area is more, it's a smaller part of NVIDIA earnings, but it's good to see that this area, although it's a small one, but it's also outperforming. Yeah. So this is where people need to render like advanced graphics and so on. Right? It's a very specialized utilization for the media industry. Okay. And last but not least, the automotive and robotics part, there's also significant growth. And beyond the typical AI that we heard about, all those generative AI, right? The next big trend is in the robotics and automotive, right? Self-driving car. And that also require advanced chip. Okay. So this is an area where NVIDIA also sees significant revenue growth from their partnership with Volvo, right? And they were developing the AI tools together on robotics and autonomous vehicle, right? So this is sort of a big win across the board. However, later on when I show you the market reaction, it was not, it's not a gap up, right? In fact, it came down first. So what is the reason? As I mentioned earlier, people expect too much from NVIDIA and they expect NVIDIA to keep beating, right? But there's some concern as to why NVIDIA did not beat as a high level for their forecast, right? It's because of some of the risks, right? So these are the key risks to highlight. NVIDIA is actually facing supply constraint. So this is also another aspect, based on your understanding of the industry, you need to know what to look out for. Sometimes you may need to monitor this industry or this kind of stocks for a while, right, to get used to reading the earnings report and what has been highlighted so that you can actually learn from what do people review. I normally look at the Q&A from analysts, right? So the analysts will ask tougher question based on what they see as a risk, then the CEO or the CFO have to answer that. So I have already seen some of this news earlier, right? So I was specifically looking for this section in the earnings report on the supply constraint. So NVIDIA faced a supply constraint, particularly on their latest product, the most advanced product, which is the Blackwell. Blackwell, a very advanced rack with many CPU inside, the GPU inside. So the although the demand is very high, this is actually the most important part, right? High demand. Okay, that's the keyword. High demand, but cannot deliver all. So is it a good problem to have? Right? You rather have high demand, not enough capacity to deliver, rather than no demand. Is it okay? Yeah. So this is something that is you need to distinguish. High demand. The demand for NVIDIA AI optimized chip is incredibly high. So recently, Jensen Huang like to use a lot of this word. Okay. Yeah, insanely high. He used to say the demand for Blackwell is insane, right? Just the previous quarter. And this time he says demand is incredibly high, driven by the global AI boom. So is this good news for the overall AI industry? Yeah. Yeah. So people are worried, wow, the stock is so high, right? Is it going to be a bubble, right? So we need to look at two things. Demand need to be there, right? Demand still need to be strong so that it doesn't become a bubble. The other aspect is it already priced in, right? Is it overvalued? So later I will talk about the valuation. The next one is which part is the supply constraint? So this is the most critical part. There's an advanced packaging complexity. So this latest GPU, right, and also this new rack, the whole mechanism, you are stacking in many GPU, right? So for a lot of advanced chip, it can cause a lot of heating issues. So they need a very good cooling system, right? Just like what we have seen in the all these data center for the cryptocurrency mining, right? Like Bitcoin mining, they have to actually have it in, even underground sometimes, right? And they go to the place that is deeper winter so that it saves time on the aircon cost. Otherwise, the electricity cost can be very significant. So now NVIDIA have reached a stage for their Blackwell server to require very important cooling system, or they need to have a very advanced packaging to take care of the heat, right? I used to work in AMD for 5 years and Intel for 12 years, so I can understand this packaging process, right? What they mean. I used to have some laptop that, if you don't have a strong fan, right? Because I use a Intel i9, very fast processor for my trading, but if you don't have a cooling fan below, it will get overheat, right? So this is, imagine 70 over GPU stack on it. So this is something that we need to be cautious. It is a new technology, and on and off, right? You may see some potential news of some technical challenges. So we just seen it last year where there's a bug, right, in the Blackwell, one of the GPU, and that actually delayed the delivery of it. It is something that should not be a surprise moving forward, right? For such an advanced technology, it's not just a brief iteration. I would say that something we need to really watch out for is whether there's any further issues relating to overheating that they need to solve, because they have only delivered one Blackwell so far, right, to the SoftBank. I read the YouTube video where SoftBank managed to get their first Blackwell server, and many of the other customers like Meta, Microsoft, and Amazon are still waiting on their queue. Okay, so NVIDIA have to decide which one to give us based on who order more or order earlier. So in this case, if ever, because the demand is so strong, if ever they have some technical issues that come in, it may actually impact the revenue, even though the backlog is still there, but it may impact the respective. Let's say Q1 is supposed to deliver X number of Blackwell server, but because of these issues, like packaging issues or overheating problem, they take longer time to solve, then it may push out to the next quarter or the following quarter. Then this quarter may miss earning. Okay, so that is the reason why you need to monitor what are the potential risks and be sensitive to what to watch out for. Right? The first thing I look at is, have they solved the problem? Okay, later on I will update you on this. And currently, TSMC is the one who can handle this advanced packaging, right? Because TSMC is very advanced in semiconductor technology. Their other suppliers are Samsung. So I've been searching, our team of analysts also searching for whether Samsung can cater for this. So far, there's no clear indication that Samsung is able to do what TSMC can do right now on this advanced packaging. Okay. So other than the potential technical issues on cooling, the overheating, which later on you will see that Jensen Huang says that it's not an issue right now. The other part is TSMC supply constraint. Yeah, the limited capacity is also important. So even though TSMC has been expanding its capacity in Japan as well as in Arizona, it is still struggling to keep up with the NVIDIA chip, right? So one important risk to manage is actually on the US facility. Right? It has been delayed for 2 years earlier, but it's already in production. They intend to add another factory, but fabrication manufacturing facility has a long lead time, and it's not so easy to hire. Earlier, they have a challenge to hire in the US because of the culture shock and so on. You can Google some of the news that's earlier that caused the delay of the TSMC factory in Arizona, which is very close to where I used to go to Chandler. Yeah, Chandler is where Intel factory is in US, and there are a lot of semiconductor factories. So they are competing with each other to hire the semiconductor staff. So if this is something that we need to watch out, any delay in the TSMC factory may cause some concern for NVIDIA stocks as well, right? So the more important part here is these constraints are expected to keep the demand ahead of supply. That means they don't have enough supply to meet all the demand, and this will run until the 2026, not just 2025. Yeah. Initially, its Blackwell family of chips, right, will carry a gross margin of 70% range, but now it increased to mid-70 range when the production ramp up. So other than the supply constraint, the next one people are concerned is the gross margin. So the good news is the gross margin is healthy, right? So for a start, because it's a very complex bill of material to build this server, but the advanced technology is able to help save costs, right? So I encourage you to go to the YouTube and watch the announcement of the Blackwell, right, to understand what the system is about. Okay, they have a very good keynote speech on that. And during the initial start, the margin will not be as good, but after that it will be improving. Actually, 70% gross margin is very, very high compared to other semiconductor companies. Okay, so this is healthy. We just need to watch out for the next risk. Over here, as I mentioned earlier, watch out for news on overheating concern, right? Because there are 72 chips stacked together. The good news is this. Hopefully he's not. Hopefully he's telling the exact truth. Jensen Huang said there's no issues, and customers such as Microsoft, Oracle, and CoreWeave are actually implementing the systems already. But we need to continue to monitor down the road. Right? Some issues don't come up straight away until you run it for a while. And he says that there's no issue with the Grace Blackwell liquid cooling. The engineering is not easy at all because what we are doing is hard, but we are in good shape. I think this helped to relieve some of the shareholder. because the cooling issues just came out last few days. I think it's the last 1 to 2 days, right? It was a more recent issues. And glad that he said it's okay. Then Trump potential tariff on import from China and other countries, 60% on China, but he has not tabled out the specific product, right? So some products may be higher or lower, yeah, than the typical range. And this will definitely cause the increase of the product that are manufactured that are imported into the US, right? But if they manufacture in Asia, sell to Asia, it may not be such a big concern. But as long as it is delivered to US, used by American companies, right, then the tariff will be applicable. And also, this is the one I mentioned, potential delay in starting up new factories. I do personally see this as a core concern because it has happened before, 2 years delay for their TSMC factories in Arizona. Okay. For this specific part, Jensen Huang declined to comment on the specific production issues with TSMC. Right? He says we ramp Blackwell up and we keep increasing more production line. We'll keep improving our yield and we'll keep improving our cycle time. And all of that will improve our output. So he doesn't specifically mention about the delay. And I think this is more for the TSMC side. So we need to look at the next TSMC earnings report, right? We need to watch out for any concern related to the delay in manufacturing facility expansion. Okay. All right. So let's look at the stock chart right now. Before we go to stock chart, I'd like to show you the Moomoo platform. Right. So they have Moomoo and Moomoo NX. So Moomoo is for general usage, and if you're an advanced trader, you can download what they call the Moomoo NX platform. I personally use the NX platform more, especially when it comes to looking at option chain and so on. So this one is I think more people are familiar with this, so I use the standard Moomoo platform here. You can, if you're new to Moomoo platform, then once you log in, the important ones for earnings is click on this news. Right. So when you click on the news here, you can see that there's already a news here on today's analyst rating target price raised to 168. Okay, so other than looking at the company results, the next one that really moved the stock price that you need to watch out, right after earnings, you will see more coming in tonight, yeah, which is the analyst target price. So what we want is after the earnings, a lot of the US analysts, they will study the company and then they will decide whether the target price for NVIDIA will go up or revise down. So the more revise up, then the more bullish. And this is the higher the gap is, the more bullish when the market open later. Okay, but we need to be cautious. Sometimes there's a profit taking first before it rally. What you need to be sensitive on is when there's a downgrade. Yeah. So there's a target price and there's a rating, whether it's still a buy, it's a strong buy, or it's rated as a whole. Yeah, I don't think people will say it's a sell right now. Okay. Yeah. So the latest one is 168, and this is Netflix, right? So we ignore the Netflix part. And this is the rating changes. So this is good news from Moomoo, right? Because they are pretty fast on this upgrade. So you can see here, what we need to look at is the upgrade. What is the previous analyst target price, which is 160 from Morgan Stanley, and it's upgraded to 168. So this is not a very significant upgrade. Yeah, compared to this Netflix. I want to talk about Netflix here. These are all the upgrades that happened today. Yeah. And so what you can do is to scan this over here, and you can actually maintain a watch list. So when you maintain a watch list, only the news that is relevant to your watch list will come out. Otherwise, you will have an overwhelmed news over that. Right? So this is the one you search for anything that's related to NVIDIA here. Right? So then it will show you the results outcome. Right? So this is the text that you can go through. But they also have some of the other articles here, right? News. Yeah, this is also another one. Yeah, you can scan through all the NVIDIA related news here. The other one I like to show you is the community, right? You can click on community and you go to this one, event to my other monitor. Okay. So on this community here, this is where you can find all the videos. Like some of you will be familiar already. Like this is where you can watch the NVIDIA earnings call. For critical earnings, I actually listen to this. There's no PowerPoint here, unfortunately. Yeah, I just click. Yeah, so you can hear Jensen Huang and also the CFO. The CFO is the one who talked first. It takes about one hour. Yeah, you can see here 1 hour to listen. If you want to hear directly, If you have not gone through any earnings announcement before, then you may want to watch it. Yeah, I normally prefer one that has the PowerPoint version, but this one you have to really listen attentively to what they say. And towards the end, it's also important there's a Q&A with the analyst. Okay, so this is where you can find all the earnings announcement. Yeah, you can see here there are many companies here, and on top of that is the feed here, right? So in this Moomoo feed, you can also see some of the latest commentary on the stock. Okay, yeah. So depending on whether I have time, because I have a very short time here to cover so many aspects, so I may not be able to cover a lot of features. So you can actually go to the Moomoo Learn here, right, to learn more about all the features available here, right? So I will go straight into the stock chart first, and later on I'll show you there's some earnings that you can dissect from here. Yeah. So let me go through the stock chart, and if I have time, I will share with you some other features. All right, so let's look at NVIDIA stock chart reaction. Okay, so this is the daily chart, and let me remove all my lines first, right? Yeah, so from the daily chart before the earnings announcement, right, the trend is healthy, right? So you can see quickly here, right, this is trading view. Moomoo also has a charting environment, but you need to get used to it to set the time frame, because today I don't have a lot of time, so I just show you where I've already drawn all my lines. Yeah, so it shows you immediately whether there's an earnings surprise. This means they beat expectations. Okay, and I have a paid account where I can see intraday charts here. So for our students who have taken our intraday trading, you should learn, you would know how to dissect this already. So depending on whether you're investor, trend trader, swing trader, or intraday trader, what you need to look for will be very different, right? So I don't have time to cover like all the trading style, because we taught in our course the 4 different trading style, and how do you evaluate each one of them has a different entry and exit rule. So example, right, I will be looking forward to intraday trading tonight, right? Because we don't hold positions after earnings announcement, share with our student, it takes about 5 days plus sometimes, right, for it to stabilize for a new support, especially when there's a sell-off first, right? Especially when it's not a very clear win, okay, or positive or significant upgrade. It takes a while to settle down on a new support. But from NVIDIA earnings, before that, there's already some good support we can watch out for. So what I want to share with you is the reaction. How does people, it's not just what we read from the report, but how people interpret it. Do people like the report, the results, or they don't like it, right? So it shows from the market action. So this is the market close yesterday. So do you think people like the result based on the price action? So the light blue color is the post-market. That means after market close. In the US, there's post-market hours trading for stock. It's about 4 hours after market close. And about 4 hours before market open is the yellow color. We can see the price movement. Yeah, in between there's a gap, right, in our afternoon. So you can see that after buying, after the market close, when the results is published on whether they meet or beat the actual, right, it's very volatile. So you're not encouraged to, I don't encourage you to trade the post-market, right, unless you're very seasoned, right, and you can dissect this, yeah, because the volume is typically lower unless there's an earnings announcement, and it can be very choppy like this, yeah, it can trip your stop loss easily. So how we look at it is one of the details where I cover how to look at how to trade post earnings in our intraday class, but today I just give you a brief idea on the range that you need to look for. Every earnings announcement is different. You have to look at what are the risks that people are concerned, right? So just looking at this doesn't mean market open will be definitely this range, but it gives us an indication that although people are concerned, right, people sell off first, there's still a support, right, at the 140. Like this may not be a strong support yet, right, at this point. So, but very likely this support may hold, right? Given that it's a positive output, but it's just supply chain constraint. But if you're here, right, that may not be advisable to buy. This is not a recommendation to buy or sell. I'm just sharing with you the thought process of a price action, right? This is a bit on the high side, the 140, 145. And of course, the next range is the all-time high here, right, which is around the 150 range, right, is where the vulnerability for profit taking will be there, right? Let me show you my lines here. This will be vulnerable to profit taking because the valuation is a bit on the high side. Yeah. Why higher? Let me show you. I think when I was dissecting the election, post-election, the Wednesday section, I did share how I look at it. So those of you who understand valuation, right? NVIDIA valuation is pretty high. The PE is 68. By any standard, it's high. Okay, but it doesn't mean that because NVIDIA is a high growth stock, we don't look at the current PE. Yeah, because current PE just tell you that what are people willing to pay, right? The stock price divided by the last 1 year earnings per share. Okay, current stock price divided by last 1 year earnings per share. But NVIDIA is a high growth stock. It's not fair to judge NVIDIA based on what they deliver what they can make in the last 1 year, right? Forward PE is what they stock price divided by the next 1 year earnings. It's also not the best way to assess NVIDIA because it's a high growth, right? Next year, following year, and the next 5 years, they will have a higher earnings per share. So PEG is the more relevant one. Okay, so all these three metrics shows is a bit on the high side, right? But for growth stock, you can see that sometimes it even though it's overvalued, it doesn't mean it cannot go up. But you just need to understand that the current price is overvalued, right? The high PE means current price for NVIDIA already factor in some aspect of the future earnings growth. Okay, you are already, this NVIDIA price, you are already paying for their future growth. So if the future growth happen and exceeded, then it's okay. The upside can be sustained. But if there's any bad news in between, or the global slowdown, their demand slowdown, or more issues to do with their supply chain constraint, right? Even though they have demand, then the stock price will be more sensitive to profit taking, right? Just that's what you need to know. So you have to judge whether at this point, is it worth it for you to enter? So are you an investor? Investor, you need a safety margin, right? So you will not want to come in when the valuation is so high, right? If you're a value investor, definitely you won't buy at this price. If you're following Warren Buffett style, I'm a growth investor. So we show our students how to look at the valuation based on the company growth rate, right? Whether it justify. This is still on the high side already. The PEG is close to the 2, which is a bit on high side, right? But it's justified by the 35% year on next 5 years earnings growth. Okay. Yeah, so if NVIDIA can exceed whatever is over here, then the stock price can still go up further. You just need to recognize you are paying part of the future growth. If you're confident, you know how to analyze NVIDIA future growth, and you know there's a safety margin, then it's fine. But to me, because of if there's no Trump tariff, right, I think it would be more bullish. But because of Trump tariff, do you think that people will be concerned? Just type on the chat. Right. Without Trump tariff, I think a higher valuation for a high growth stock like NVIDIA, there will still be people who is willing to continue to buy it, like for maybe not for investor, but for trend trading, right? Continue to ride the trend until the trend change. So if the trend change, you just get out, right? So we teach our students trend trading as well, where we know this is a strong fundamental stock. So you don't look at the stock chart to trade, and you have a stop loss when the U-turn. If people still want to buy the stock, continue to go up, then you just move up your stop loss. Okay, so you're also protected, and you only risk 1% in any one trade. That means when hit your stop loss, it's only 1% impact to your NLP. Yeah, then you can still continue to ride the trend, right? You just know that it's a bit vulnerable. So, and you watch out for you don't go and buy when it's like near the all-time high, right? Yeah, you know it's vulnerable here. So you wait for pullback, right? So depend on your respective trading style, right? So this is not the class. So for those of you who are a student, right? I mean, some levels are here and here, but you need to understand the thought process for that, right? So I would have waited for a stronger level to enter, right? Anything that if I'm going to keep it overnight, or unless I use option, right? In options, you can bring down, even though the stock is here, you can enter in the price that makes your break even at 130, even though the stock price here. There's a way to do that. I do that very often. Okay. Or the better way to trade right now is to just trade intraday range, right? You can see here. There are times where I put pending order pre-market, but that's based on I understand the NVIDIA range. I understand the dissecting this earnings report. But for beginner, you should not do that. Yeah, so it could have triggered pre-market. So what we do in intraday is we do scenario planning. Right? Sometimes it come back here and rebound. Sometimes it go to here, it hesitate, then it come back down. Okay, but I usually don't short it. This is a positive earnings result. And sometimes it goes to here and it break up. Right? So I will prepare a few scenarios. and based on which one has a good reward or risk, then I will trade it. Yeah, because I just need a 2-to-1 reward or risk. One win can cover 2 losses. Right, that's how I have the thought process. This is not the full complete assessment. I will also look at the sentiment for the day. Right, if the sentiment day is better, then I take a moderate aggressive trade. Right, if the sentiment is not so healthy, then I will be more conservative. I wait at a more conservative level. Okay, so and I always have a stop loss. So you need to decide whether what trader are you, right? How many of you are non-student? At least I know whether how many of you are not familiar with what I'm talking about, because it's a public session, right? Can you type a me if you're non-student, not our Beyond Insight students? Yeah, just type a me if you're non-student, so I know what I need to potentially clarify. Okay. Yeah, so if you're not a student, you can also go to, later on I will share with you a link. I encourage you to join our 3-hour free webinar, where we actually educate people on the 4 different trading styles and a systematic approach to the financial market, right? Because you need to look at top-down approach, right? How do I select the stocks, right? How to screen the stocks, then how do you time it, right? And the timing is based on the 4 different styles. Your investor timing, different from trend, different from swing trading, different from intraday. After that, your protection, right? How do you manage your risk? And also, if you want to compound faster, then what do you do, right? You can use stocks with margin, CFD, or options. Okay, so it's a very systematic process. So I encourage you to go for our free webinar on that. Okay, and the other part about mega trends, just now I talked about NVIDIA AI is a mega trend and it has a chain reaction. That's what I mean, the chain reaction. NVIDIA earnings will affect the whole dependency, right? The upstream and the downstream. Example, in the factories that I used to work with, right, there's a fab, sort, assembly, and test. Right, fabrication is the TSMC part. So you need to know who are NVIDIA's supplier. So if NVIDIA shows that the demand is good, which company will benefit, right? So one example will be the supplier, right? Who supply NVIDIA most important chip, right? That will be TSMC, right? So like, let's say over here, you can see a range for the TSMC, because NVIDIA came down, right? So you can see the shape almost the same, okay? NVIDIA came down post earnings, so TSMC also came down, and this one came down. If NVIDIA did not say TSMC has supply chain constraint, right? Supply constraint, capacity constraint, what do you think will happen to TSMC tonight? If NVIDIA earnings did not mention there's any issues on the capacity in TSMC, and it says the demand is very high, right? Do you think TSMC stock will be bullish? Yes, likely it's going to be bullish, right? Especially it is not on the elevation, it's not near resistance, right? It's near support, right? So the room to go up is higher, right? So that's how you judge, right? If it's near the support and good news, then it has more time to rally. But if it's a good news but it's near the resistance, then there will still be people who take profit on the market open. So we don't pre-assume. Trading is about probability assessment, right? So I will look at what is the likelihood that can happen on market open, and I look at the price action and let it stabilize in the first 5-10 minutes, because it's not a high conviction trade, right? Unless NVIDIA is already near a strong support and the news is good and the price action have not kicked in yet. Yeah, then sometimes in order not to miss the queue, I will put a partial order, right? Then at least if I'm wrong, right, choppy, then I only lose a part of the position, like 1/3. And I don't miss it, I don't end up like chasing after it. But if it's not at a safe level, then I will wait for 5-10 minutes for the price action. So now market is not open yet, so I won't be able to dissect that, right? Yeah, so in our intraday trading, normally we have a live sessions where we decipher right into the market open with our students. Okay, so this is the one. We'll look at the range here. Example, there's a range here within the intraday, right, that I will watch out for tonight. Okay, so these are the range, whether it is within this range you can trade, or it break out of the range. So whether it can break out, you also need to understand TSMC overall strength, right? Yeah, whether the valuation is give it a safety margin, and there will be investors who want to come here, right? If this is the level where a lot of investors tends to come here, that would be a great level. And I would prefer to treat intraday for now, even though I'm also an investor and trend trader, mainly because that give it a few days to stabilize. So for the meantime, I can still make money based on trading the intraday. Okay, then and if it's at a good level today, and I will use options to give me some downside protection, right, for investment. yeah, I do see the safe level that I can start to do a partial entry into trend, but it is not at the level for investing, yeah, because you're paying a premium right now, right? It's not a crash price, but this is a good stock for you to monitor for, let's say, the overall market, right? Sentiment is not good and come to the price, then you get a good margin of safety. All right, so is it clear? Right, so I hope this helped. So you can look at the typical correlation. We have TSMC, we have AMD, right? So how will it affect AMD? You can see the stock reaction is almost the same, right? Deep, right? That shows the correlated industry because AMD is the competitor to NVIDIA, but AMD technology is behind NVIDIA. How is it important to AMD, right? So AMD also wanted to invested a lot in AI. So if NVIDIA says the sales for the AI demand is great, do you think it will benefit AMD as well? Yeah, definitely, right? So although they don't have a very strong chip to compete yet, but if NVIDIA cannot supply and AMD have a chip, may not be the best chip, and those companies needed it, do you think they will still buy from AMD so that they are able to provide the services earlier for their own customer, right? They can't be waiting for NVIDIA forever for the chip, right? Yeah, so this is where AMD can have we call it secondary benefit, right? And also because AMD is already on the low side technically, right? It's a downtrend for the meantime, so you need to be watching out. Yeah, because people are not looking too good on the competition, right? So this is a downtrend channel, right? So it's still weak, right? So but moving forward, and who is producing AMD chip? There's a problem. Also TSMC. So if you're TSMC, you don't have enough capacity. You have Apple. Your main customer for TSMC is Apple, NVIDIA, and AMD. Right? Who do you think they will prioritize? Right, here's to share the capacity between these three companies. So who do you think will be the last to get here? Yeah, AMD is likely, but I cannot tell for NVIDIA. They normally have some agreement. They want to make they likely want to make sure that they can cater for all customer in equal proportion based on their deals with them. But having the capacity constraint will mean that all three of them may have a risk. Right? So if you're a TSMC supplier, you don't have enough capacity, but I'm delivering to Apple, NVIDIA, and AMD. So the constraint is not going to affect NVIDIA alone. Okay, but the good news is that's the demand. So the TSMC will have to keep expanding the capacity. So from here you can see this is a 140 level. Looking at the price action, right, is getting back up. Right? So earlier this become resistant, which is a concern. This is resistant. That means it's not healthy. I won't buy because the stock is not healthy, but it did have some recovery. So you need to monitor the 140 level for AMD. Based on it is not a great news, I would say, based on my interpretation for AMD, even though the demand is good, but TSMC is also their supplier. Yeah. But at least if you want to trade intraday, it's not a problem, right? It's not a conviction trade for AMD as well, right? So this is just the two, but there are many other stocks like that are related. For example, there's a chain reaction, right? There's supplier for TSMC. Let's say TSMC don't have enough capacity. TSMC needs to expand, right? Then there's also all the dependency for TSMC itself, right? When they want to expand the factory, what do they need? They need to buy more equipment. So then you look at all the fab sort assembly test supplier, right? So today is a short session. Originally it was just designed for about 45 minutes and we are almost up. Yeah, so I won't be able to extend to all the other dependency. We actually have a course, but it's an advanced course, right? Only so far we only offered to our existing students who have gone through our strategy course, but next year, first half of next year, we are considering whether to open up to the public, right? It's called Industry Macro Insight. So in our Industry Insight course, we have something like this. Let me just give you an idea where we have a very comprehensive diagram like this. The whole entire semiconductor dependency, all the way from fab sort assembly test. So you can see here, this equipment here is the ASML equipment, right? So which is needed by TSMC. Right, so when the factory needs to expand, then you know, okay, so whenever you see, oh, CapEx expanding, TSMC buying, expanding factory, buying more, expanding the factory, then we know, oh, these are all the companies that will benefit, right? So it's called the supply chain dependency. And also when we know that end customer, if the end customer, whether it's a PC, the gaming or the AI part, when they expand, right, then which are the company that will benefit, right? So these are very, very comprehensive supply chain. It's quite complex. This is the extent we do our semiconductor research. So straight away, when we look at the earnings, we know the whole dependency diagram. Okay, so you can also go to the Mumu phone, right? And under the feature, you can write this down first because I don't have time to show so many demo. And on the phone side is easier. You can just write down the command. First, you search for NVIDIA stocks. You need to get familiar with the Mumu platform first, right? You go to the watch list, right? Type down watch list, right? Then you key in NVIDIA stock. Okay. After that, you click on the menu called company, right? Company. Go to financials, then there's a category. So in the future sessions, I can actually share more with you because today's session is a bit tight. Let me show you this. Yeah, so when you go to the app here, let me show this. Yeah. So when you go to the watch list and you go to, let's say, NVIDIA, right? So then on the right-hand side, there's an analysis, right? There's a lot of features here you can explore. Analysis, then there's an interpretation, there's a summary, right? Then there's a financial, right? So you can see the financial results here. I can see this is the breakdown. If you move your mouse up, you can see data center is this high and it's growing, right? So what you want to see is it's growing up. And then the gaming, right? So you have a visual interpretation of this, and also it compare the EPS growth, right, and so on. Okay, so yeah, play around with this, and you can change from quarterly to yearly. And also the other part is you can see here there's a breakdown, right? There's a lot of sub menu here, so you can look at the operating earnings, automotive, the GPU market breakdown. Okay, and also this summary here, you can click on the more, right? Click on the more, then there's a lot of details on the related ETF to NVIDIA. In case you don't want to buy NVIDIA alone, you want to buy the ETF for NVIDIA. Right, so when we have future sharing for different stocks, I will find some time to drill down more because today I have to dissect the price action as well, so there's not enough time. There's a article where you can look at the detailed breakdown as well. Let me show you over here. Sometimes you will see the article where they dissect the whole earnings as well. Like, so you can just search for all those related to NVIDIA. Then you can actually look at the breakdown of the in a visual form. Okay. So right now I want to also share with you related to how you should position for companies like this, right, in the mega trend. With Trump's tariff coming in, right, a lot of people may have concern here and there. Example, whether there will be a big correction on AI stock. You can see it's still very strong. Yeah, people are already taking advantage of this. $8 up already pre-market. Yeah. So what can you do, right? These kind of stocks you need to stand by, and because it's aligned with the mega trend, right? So we stand by all the great mega trend stock. Why mega trend? Because mega trend are the big trend where there's a demand, right? There's an actual demand for it. Like you can see there's such a high demand for NVIDIA chip related to AI, Gen AI, and many other related usage for AI. So all these other macro events are noise that can cause the stock price to come down. But because you know there's a demand for this stock and you understand some of the risks that you need to manage, so then you just need to know what are the levels that you should come in that has a margin of safety. Okay, so this is the way I trade, whether it's a fintech or, there's 6 major mega trend, the big picture, and within the mega trend, there's an industry that will benefit from that mega trend. For example, let's say if AI mega trend, then you have cloud computing, right? You have all the related memory chip, you have all the upstream, downstream of semiconductor that will benefit. Okay, so if you understand that, then there's a lot more stock you can buy, not just NVIDIA. NVIDIA is not the top performing stock in the, there are also other stocks that are performing even better. Like, let me just show you one example here. Right, if you look at these are some of the articles you can find from the Mumu feed. right? Some AI stocks like app, right? This is emerging stock, right? So I don't encourage. This is not a strong fundamental. I mean, a company that is mature yet, but it's emerging stock. Emerging stocks are not consistent in their income yet, or they have a lot of sales. Okay, that's my market alarm. They have a lot of sales, but they don't have steady income yet. Yeah, but these are the stocks. If you are advanced trader, you can monitor. Right, look at Palantir is outperforming. Right, so don't get too hung up with one particular stock. It all depends on your experience level. If you are not so experienced, right, then you go for the stocks that are not stretched. Right, if you are experienced, you can still trade some stretch stock based on because you know how to protect. Like I use options, I can trade intraday. I don't care what happened tomorrow. Right, I just trade the next 1-2 hours and I get out. Okay, so I just trade the price range and I get out. And once it's stable, the price value is better with a margin of safety. I invest in that. And I use options to protect. Okay, so there are so many ways to invest and trade. Right? So if you're interested, you can join our forum. And next year we have a mega trend, and you can also learn from all the other mega trends that we have. So let me just show you this. Right, we have this symposium, so you can scan this using your mobile, or you can click on the link on the chat. Right, this is to us this is a must-attend event because you get a summary of the biggest mega trend outlook for the next year. Right, so it's on 18 January, and it's going to be at the Nexus Bangsa South. Full day event is a paid event, but very reasonable price because mainly we charge you for the meals only. Okay, yeah, because the meals are provided for lunch and some breaks. So this is where we cover the 6 major mega trends. We have speakers like YTL, who owns the CEO of YTL AI, and he also is responsible for the digital bank. So he already committed to be one of the speaker, right? And also we have that's the mega trend part, and we are also inviting the Brad Steenbarger, who is the coach mentor for the hedge funds trader, right? He's a seasoned psychologist as well as clinical psychologist, as well as a coach for the hedge funds when they come to trading challenges, right? So very, very reputable person, have written quite a number of books, right? So look forward to that. And we also will be talking about not just the US market, like based on the mega trend. We talk about the macro, the outlook for next year, right? From the macro, then to the industry mega trend. And we have a specific focus on the China assessment. Also, Malaysia contrast versus US, right? Where if you are already investing in Malaysia, what do you need to take care for if you want to look at US? Yeah. And also options, we have a section on how to utilize options as well, right? So that it can enhance your protection and understand the benefit of options. Then at the end of the day, we have a panel discussion on the outlook for next year, right? So it's a very interesting session. So there's now there's an early bird discount if you want to join, right? So highly recommend you for that. And I may not be able to take a lot of questions, but I will probably can handle probably 2 or 3 short questions in a short while. And on top of that, later on, we'll also flash this, right? If you have not has any Momo account, right? So you can scan this and also sign up for the account because there's a reward here for Apple share, okay? Depending on how much you bank in, that means you deposit, you will get whether 0.5 Apple share or 1 Apple share, okay? And it's a good deal because it's a risk-free return, risk-free return. Earlier, when I opened an account beginning of this year, I would say the return is 10%, yeah, because I got a 1 Apple share at that time. But every time they have a different offer. So at that time was just depositing 8,000, I get 1 Apple share. And now the Apple share has gone up. I get a 10% risk-free, right? So, and more importantly, is the features, right? It's not just for all this reward. To me, if you trade well, it will be better than any reward. So they have some very good feature that can save you a lot of time for dissecting, not just the earnings, yeah? Okay, so over time, as we have more sessions, we'll share more with you. So now I pass on to Yong-Sin to see if there's any major question I need to cover, yeah, here.
All right, thank you so much, Kathlyn.
Yeah.
I think
so compact. I realized 45 minutes also cannot finish.
Yeah, that's fine. There's a lot of info that I'm sure a lot of people benefit from. And there is just one question, I think a very good one, although Lisha has really helped to answer on YouTube, right? So
Yeah.
It's a question by Shana Nick.
Okay.
Isn't it also very risky for all of them to just depend on TSMC? All of them, I guess, NVIDIA, AMD, and also Intel. Not Intel, Apple.
Yes, that's a very valid concern. However, it's, TSMC still have the best technology right now. The Intel is the second choice, right? There's also Samsung, but Samsung technology has not really coped up with TSMC so much. So that's the secondary choice. If, let's say, TSMC cannot deliver, then they may need to fall back to other supplier. So before that, US has actually an act to help to subsidize Intel to beef up their factories in the US, their fabrication plant. So the US is already working on it, but it takes time. Right? So we are still waiting for Trump to announce whether he want to sponsor the factories in US. He want to bring more factories to US. And one of the reasons why TSMC start in US is also for that reason. The risk we need to manage is China and Taiwan tension, right? But I don't think right now the China economy is so bad. I don't think China will take this time to attack Taiwan. Okay, and US is very, very clear about this risk, and they wanted to move more and more of the critical components, right, manufacturing to the US, especially fabrication. But it's going to increase the costing. But the good news is this, right? The demand is so high for NVIDIA chip. So NVIDIA can afford to have some erosion of profit margin. The profit margin is fantastic, right? So let me just give you some idea here. Am I still showing my screen?
No, you have to reshare.
Okay, sorry, just a quick one.
Yeah.
Why I think the current it's a long-term risk that needs to be managed, and US is working on it. Right, let's look at the profit margin. It's crazy, right? 76%, profit margin 55. Okay, so based on this profit margin, they can afford some price increase for their raw material. Right, worst case they just increase the price again. So who will get hit? It's not NVIDIA get hit. Who do you think will get hit? NVIDIA customer will have to pay higher price if they have no choice. If NVIDIA has the fastest chip and NVIDIA have no choice, TSMC already say they raised the price could be around 20%. Yeah, because of their manufacturing facility in the US is more expensive, right? So, and NVIDIA already know that and will factor that into the cost. When you have a high revenue growth, right, you can tolerate and your profit margin is high, you can tolerate some cost increase. The risky part is when you don't have that growth, right? So let's say for an AMD, for Intel, if their revenue is not growing at that level and their cost increase, then it'll be tough, right? So you have to be very selective of which company. Right? So I acknowledge the risk here, but for the meantime, it's not a big issue. Yeah. So that's the reason why we want to diversify. We are not asking you to put 100% of your position in NVIDIA. So we have a risk management where at any one time, any stocks, go wrong or hit the stop loss, it's only 1% risk, right? Even with gapping, it's like ranging around 2%. You don't keep it over earnings, then you don't have big gapping. And you can use options to protect it even better. You can have stop loss, you can have options, you can trade intraday. There are many ways to trade it. So I hope I answered the question. Okay.
Yep, that is perfect. Thank you so much, Kathlyn. I think that's about it for tonight's session.
Okay, so Lichai already handle other questions. Yeah,
Yes.
We have Lichai, who is a very experienced analyst, and he also come from a semiconductor background, right? So he's also the one that helping us to come up with the whole semiconductor dependency diagram together with another of our senior coach here.
Right. I think we have maybe 2 more minutes, so we can take that one last question. There's one question from our YouTube live here. NL, is the PE of 68 very high?
Yes. Okay. So first of all, we need to understand. Okay, is it still my screen showing?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So let's look at the PE here. Right? 68 in normal standard is high, right? Because it's way more than the typical average. But when we excuse me for that, I need to clear my market alarm. Yeah, because even if I mute, the alarm will still ring. Yeah. Yeah. So but the part is whether this PE is justified based on the growth rate. Okay, it's definitely on the high side. It's not a level where you can buy for investment with a good safety margin. But if you look at this, right, even with this valuation, the trend is still going up, right? So if you look at the trend here, right, the overall trend is still up despite the overvaluation here. So, but because it has gone up so much, like let's say the year to date, right? If you look at the year to date percentage change, NVIDIA has gone up to by 195. It's 200%. Most stock average S&P 500, right, is ranging in the normal times. Average S&P 500 is around 12%. Okay, 10 to 12%. And QQQ can be between 20 to 30%. In a good year can be 40%. That's QQQ. Average of 100 stocks in that high growth stock. And NVIDIA year to date is already 200%, right? So, but why can it go up so high? It has been substantiated by the earnings growth, right? So NVIDIA have high earnings growth, and people expect that they may have more explosion on earnings when the supply chain constraint is solved. But you're not paying a price with a safety margin, right? Let's look at the overall weekly chart here, right? The overall trend is still up. So people willing to pay, and they look at the sentiment, right? Is the overall market sentiment good? With Trump coming in, there's a tax cut extension, right? So if you look at NVIDIA profit margin, do you think they benefit from tax cut? Like, just look at this, their profit margin is so high. They make a lot of money. A tax cut continuation, that means originally it's 35% to 21%. That's a significant savings for them, right? So on one hand, they are higher costs from the tariff. The other hand, they save from the tax cut, right? So, and with Donald Trump want to activate the economy, so overall it's good, but we need to watch out more news on the tariff. So I would say that for the meantime, it's more suitable for trading rather than investing for NVIDIA, right? Unless you know options has a way for you to bring down the break even. But I would not, I will not chase it at this price. This is an elevated price for investor, right? So for trader, you just trade the trend. I wait for the pullback, I will trade the trend. For swing trader, there's another one. You can go to our free 3-hour webinar. It will share with you what doing my swing. A swing is you trade the range bound, right? Yeah, so you can just trade the range like this, right? Then you get up. Okay, 1 to 2 weeks you get up, then you re-enter a new range, right? Yeah. So that's the way I manage the risk. Yeah, valuation on the high side, but it's not extremely high because the P is still slightly less than 2. Okay, more than 2, I would say it's extremely high already. Yeah, it's justified partially by the earnings growth. Okay. And if you have a stop loss, then it's fine, right? If the potential upside is at least 2 to 1 win cover 2 losses, 1/3 right, you make money. When we trade in, let's say for swing trading, we measure based on the 100 trade success. Okay, so we look at a potential upside can be at least 2 to 3 times. The risk is 1x, right? 1 win cover 2 losses. That means 1/3 right, you will break even. More than 1/3 right, 40% right, you make money. So for trading, we look at it like this. So we don't have to win all the time. Then you don't have the fear of losing money. But if you think of it as an investor, I would say, yes, this is not an investment level, right? Not like some other stock that's already penalized. Yeah, so for NVIDIA, you want to invest, you have to wait for bad news, okay? Yeah, but make sure that it's not still in a downtrend, it has settled down sideways, right? So what will the bad news? Maybe when you wait for Trump for the first initial announcement on the tariff for China, cause some volatility, like then you wait for the support to stabilize, that's where you want to go in. Okay, so but now it's not the investment level, it's you can go for swing trading, trend trading. Swing trading not yet because of the it take a while to stabilize. These few days can be intraday first, but it comes to a certain good trend support level, you can still enter gradually into the trend. Okay, so it's more for trading style right now. Okay, so I hope I answered the question. Yeah.
Yep, that is perfect. Thank you so much, Kathlyn. So, NL, I hope that answers your question. Not for investing at the moment, but good for intraday trading for these few days. All right.
Okay. Yeah, before we log off, I'd like to get some feedback, right? Is this session useful for you? Would you like to have more sessions on dissecting earnings? And what company are you interested? Let us know. Yeah. I also have a limited bandwidth to cover so many. Like one session is really 1 hour plus because NVIDIA is quite complex. But I can go through, maybe some is not so complex one, right? Just type on the chat for us so we know whether this session is helpful for you or any other perspective you want us to dissect. Okay.
We are seeing from Moomoo, we have got Tesla, Microsoft, a lot of Teslas on Moomoo, and some Microsoft ASML on YouTube as well.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll collect all this. And I'd like to emphasize that you need to choose investing or trading style that suits you, right? Not everyone is suitable for everything. And intraday require more skills and also emotional control. Okay, even though I mentioned about intraday, if you're a beginner, you should not be going for intraday. Okay, and also it has more noise. Yeah, it has more noise. Now you see, wow, looks like very easy to trade. It's not always the case. Okay, yeah. So if you go for different days, then it can be more choppy. You need experience to look at the sentiment. Okay, so I just want to highlight intraday is not for everyone. And before you trade intraday, you need to learn swing and trend. That's why in our course, I'm a strong believer of building foundation the right way. Right, so you learn about how to screen strong fundamental stock first. Then you look at stock chart too. You look at valuation if you're an investor, and also you look at the stock chart, right? So that you don't buy on the downside, right? If you're buying, you want to make sure your previous position protected before you add. So we have a very systematic process. So then you build, if you want to, before you go to intraday, you have to build the swing and trend trading skill so that you're strong in looking at the trend patterns, you understand reward or risk, you understand money management and how to key into broker, right? Once you get competent with it, then you can consider intraday if you can commit about 2-3 hours a night, right? 1 hour before market open, like right now, why I have the market alarm is when I'm supposed to prepare for market open, I will look at the bigger picture, the sentiment for today based on the news and the price range here for not just this, but SPY and QQQ in general. Okay, where's the market direction? Then I will take a assessment of the scenario planning that I want to trade for tonight. And sometimes within the half an hour, it hit my range, I can close up. Okay, so a lot of people have the wrong perception about the US market that you need to stay until the 5 a.m. market close. That's not the case, right? So if within the range, let's say, you can trade, when it come down within the range, you hit your target, within half an hour, you can get out. Sometimes it may take 1 to 2 hours. Sometimes after that, it still can go up. But there are features where I can set a trailing stop and let it run until market close. Before market close, I can also set that it will auto close for me. So I don't have overnight positions. I can still go to bed, right? So you need to trade like 1 to 2 hours into market open, depend on how long you want to trade. Okay, so that's intraday in case some of you are not familiar intraday, but don't do it on your own. Remember, yeah, you don't know enough. You may see this one, hey, it looks like can trade, right? Yeah, you haven't seen enough variations of this. Okay, so I hope this helped. And this is not an advocation to buy or sell NVIDIA tonight. It's an education session for the thought process. Right? I'm an advocate on a believer. I'm a strong believer that you need to learn the skills and the thought process. Then you can sustain, right? Otherwise, you won't be able to trade for a living. Okay. Of course, in our course, we mentor our students, based on the actual charts and all that, so they will speed up their learning curve. All right. So I hope that helps, and I'll pass on to Yong-Sin if there's any other announcement you want to make. And digest all your feedback, right? So to see what are the stocks you want to cover. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Kathlyn. I hope all of you have learned a lot today. And a very detailed debrief of the NVIDIA earnings, right? And also the semiconductor industry. Now, for those of you who have yet to follow or subscribe us either on Momo or on YouTube, please go and do so right now so that in the future, when we have any sessions like this, you will be the first to know. Okay, and if you would like to find out more about what other mega trends are there, right, and how you can take action on them, more insights on how you can continue riding on some of these trends, do make sure that you join us at our next symposium happening on January 18 at Nexus Bangsa South, and we'll have industry experts from YTL AI Labs, Google, even analysts from Moomoo itself at the event, right, to deep dive into the 6 major mega trends and how you can prepare your portfolio beyond 2025. Okay, so make sure you scan the QR code or click on the link that is in the chat or in the comments section right below right now to register, because we are doing an early bird offer of up to 30% right now that is ending in about a week time. So the early bird is ending about in about 7 to 10 days time. So make sure you scan them and register it for the session now. All right, and that's all for tonight. We'll see you. I hope to see you at the Beyond Insights 2025 Symposium. And if you have any feedback for us at all, you want us to debrief or digest any other earnings, do let us know in the comment section down below. We'll do our best to go through them and pick some of the top pick stocks for the next session. All right, thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night, and we'll see you in the next session.
Bye-bye.